Hello everyone. Today we will be discussing and analyzing the Periodic Potential Lab. Our group is made up of two fourth-year nanotechnology students, Haig and Jonathan, and two third-year nanotechnology students, Ben and William. Simulation modeling is very important in order to turn complex or expensive physical processes into computational models that can be consistently ran with customizable parameters. This is also very effective for quantum systems, because we are able to simulate very complex organizations that are difficult to experimentally characterize. The first step in simulation modeling is understanding the physical system and deriving the theoretical equations which explain its properties of interest. These derived equations then need to be numerically modeled in order to build the computational system. To validate the modeling approach and derivations, it is crucial to compare the predicted outcomes from the simulation to experimental data if this is possible. The physical system is the real structure or organization of interest in which we are trying to analyze. In this project specifically, the physical system we are trying to emulate is periodic potential of a one-dimensional periodic crystal. Atoms in a periodic crystal are arranged within a Bravais lattice. Due to the periodicity of these single crystal systems, we should expect an oscillating potential. The potential energy and eigenfunctions in a periodic 1D lattice are equal to itself at its equivalent position in the neighboring cell, which can be described by the crystal lattice vector, or period, which is represented by T. Both the approximated and real potential is zero, between the potentials where the atoms exist.
Mathematical simulations are used to predict system behavior using a derived equation that can be optimized and implemented by computers. This crystal potential acts as a string of finite wells that is modeled by solving the time-independent Schrödinger equation considering the derived potential pattern. After analytically solving this differential equation, we arrive at the general Bloch theorem, which is outlined in the red box in the bottom of the slide. Using the solution from the Bloch theorem and solving the time-independent Schrödinger equation in the two different regions of the system, we are able to derive a set of four equations. This is called the Kroning-Penney model. The solution of these analytical equations provides insightful information regarding the electronic properties of the system, most notably the band structure and energy dispersion. This allows us to predict the energy eigenvalues and eigenfunctions of specific systems and therefore the probability of an electron existing in a specific state. The general expression from these two regions from the Kroning-Penney model are shown in the slides. As previously mentioned, solving the system of equations allows us to attain a solution for the allowed electronic bands and energy dispersion. This analytical solution is shown on the top of the slide. Analyzing the solution from the Kroning-Penney model, we can see that this trigonometric function should be bounded by the absolute value of 1. On the leftmost diagram, we can see that the allowed band structures for a simple system. In this figure, the red lines display solutions to the equation which are greater than or less than 1, and the green lines are solutions that fall within these numerical restraints. This implies that anything outside of this region cannot be occupied by an electron, creating a band gap. Similarly, analyzing the expanded dispersion, which outlines the EK relationship for our electrons, band gaps are also present, which are outlined in colored circles for visual purposes. We use these simulation methods on the software to produce simulations outlined in the following slides.
Moving on to the simulation portion of the presentation. For us, we ran the simulations over 11 different types of periodic potentials using every type of potential offered by the NanoHub simulation application, where we ran at least 4 different sets of altered parameters for each periodic potential type. The 4 sets of changes that we made to each periodic well were as follows: the energy of the electrons above the well, the cell width, the potential width, and the max potential. When it was possible, we changed other parameters along with the ones previously listed, such as the particle mass or the number of nodes in the given period for each sinusoidal well. Altering these parameters allowed us to efficiently determine how each individual parameter given in the application altered the desired results. It should also be noted that each of these parameters were changed with all other parameters being set to the default settings in order to better isolate the effect of altering that single variable. After running each simulation, 7 sets of results were extracted, and each set of data was compared to the other results that used the same periodic well shape. The results that were extracted from the application were as follows: the wave function probability, the energy function, the eigenenergy paired with the wave function, the effective mass of the electrons within the well, the band information with the allowed bands, and the 1D density of states chart. Along with changing the well shape, the results listed before allowed us to see how altering each individual variable would change the behavior of the electrons within the periodic cells, with certain results being more heavily influenced by different parameter changes. The figure on the right displays the shape of the energy functions within each type of periodic cell. As assumed, the functions are all periodic and display different behaviors at the boundaries of each cell at the potential energy barriers.
The potential function did not have a major impact on the energy function and resultant allowed bands. It was found that the polynomial-based potentials had lower energy bands and had slightly smaller band gaps, while the potentials with wide barriers tended to have slightly higher energy bands and slightly bigger band gaps. They also had the largest change in the energy function, resulting in the much deeper minima near zero energy. Of the parameters we investigated, the height of the barrier had the most impact on the energy function and allowed bands. By doubling the height of the barrier, the resultant allowed bands became much smaller and with larger band gaps between them. Widening the repeating cell and to a lesser extent decreasing the width of the barrier resulted in the formation of more, smaller bands that were closer together in energy. Restricting the energy to only 3 electron volts over the barrier did not change anything and only resulted in the simulation stopping its calculations at a lower energy. Now focusing on the EK dispersion, it was again found that the type of potential used did not have a major impact on the simulation results. The only observation found was that the potentials with a wider barrier, like the square well and triangular potential, had a higher average energy when compared to potentials with a smaller barrier width. For the simulation parameters, widening the repeating cell impacted the resultant EK dispersion the most. It caused the dispersion to broaden while also lowering the average energy. Both changing the height of the barrier and shortening the barrier's width resulted only in a change in the energy of the dispersion, with increasing the height of the barrier resulting in a higher energy and shortening the width of the barrier resulting in a slightly lower energy. These results also translated to the other categories we explored, such as the wave functions and density of states, where the potential did not majorly affect the results and the barrier height or cell width was the parameter that led to the most change in the output.
There are limitations to the methods and models in the periodic potential lab that should be kept in mind when running simulations. First, the potential functions are only simplified approximations of the potential found in a real system. Also, the potentials can only be used on a single atom crystal and do not account for crystals with multiple atoms within the lattice. The simulations are only calculated over the range of energy that is inputted. If a sufficiently large range is not chosen, portions of the bands will not be seen in the results. Lastly, there is an error associated with numerical methods. Depending on the methods chosen to calculate the results, the error associated with the method and the truncation error present in all digital computation results in simulation can produce results slightly different than expected.
All team members explored the simulation software on NanoHub to ensure tool comprehension. Ben and Will focused on research, writing, and creating slides for the reality and mathematical modeling, as well as video creation. Haig focused on the simulation parameters and running the simulation for the presentation. Jonathan also worked on generating simulations for the presentation and worked on the results comparison. All team members contributed evenly in this project.
We would like to thank everyone for listening to our presentation, and we appreciate you guys looking over the periodic potential lab with us.